Hello, good evening. Thank you so much for making time to join us tonight, the 17th of February 2025. It's a Monday, a beautiful Monday. And you know that when you see the three or the four of us on those respective days, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, then we're here to bring you the day's biggest news stories. Thank you so much for joining us again. My name is Andrew Mwansa.
I'm Chimweka Chileshe. Thank you for joining us on tonight's edition, the first for this week of Diamond Life.
Thank you for joining us. My name is Cheswa Kapasa. It's good to be here. Gentlemen, how's the week? How's the weekend?
Cheswa, what's that about?
What do you mean? What does it mean?
You might as well join the bandwagon, Mr. Andrew Mwansa.
So, should I be called?
You need to find a way of
joining in.
You know, Andrew's a middle name. Do you know Andrew's
really?
middle name?
Come on.
Yeah. He's got a middle name. I just found out recently. I found it from his wife, actually.
Really?
That he's got a middle name that he doesn't want other people to know about. But his wife exposed him. And that's what she calls him by, apparently when she's upset with him.
The middle name is Chama. So now, so it's going to be called Chama.
Exactly. There you go.
Cheswa and Chama.
Welcome.
What's with that accent, though?
No, it's not an accent. That's just the name.
It's just the name.
Yeah.
And how things should be pronounced the right way.
Anyway, my name is Chama, like you rightly said, Chimweka and Cheswa. But coming up on the program tonight, we'll be joined in by the Zambia Police spokesperson Hamoonga to discuss the gunning down of 4 suspected criminals, an action that has been described as many people having different reactions to this, to this action by the police. Obviously, we can't, ignore the fact that this is extrajudicial killing. Others agree with the action of the police that these criminals did, terrorize the people, but others say this was an inhumane way of dealing with criminals.
I mean, we've seen people mourning the suspected criminals who are gunned down, and others judging those who have been mourning them, and it's something we'll be talking about soon also in Today in a Snap. But we'll also be speaking of suspected criminals. Some of them got arrested in connection to thefts from motor vehicles at the Gafia roundabout. It's been quite a notorious place, and we have seen that the Zambia police have stepped in. 12 suspects were apprehended, and it's in connection with that, with help of the CCTV cameras we have around the country through the Safe City project. So we'll be talking about that.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very interesting case, like to put it that way, but others, like you rightly put it, condemning the police. Well, above all, these were human beings that came from families, so you expect that people have emotions for those who are gone. But of course, like they say, that people do not have any better words for a thief, for criminals. These are, well, people who didn't go through trial, and I think that's part of the things people are also talking about, that they still were innocent, even though people knew that these were the thieves, but they still were innocent, not until proven guilty by the courts of law. And people will still have their own feelings at the end of the day.
Also, the show tonight will be joined in by Godfrey Chikumbi, one of the 8 Football Association of Zambia presidential candidates whose candidatures have been declared invalid, leaving Andrew Kamanga as the only unopposed candidate, and he was duly elected president of FAZ from 2025 up until, it's 4 years, up until 2029.
Andrew's making news today. It's an under day for some reason today. I don't know what Chama has to say about that. But I mean, that's been the big story from today. Just a few hours ago, we did hear from the FAZ Electoral Committee chairperson Ronald Hatongo, who gave a press briefing and made this announcement, and it's gotten quite the response, the feedback from various stakeholders. And we know that for a country like Zambia, we are football enthusiasts by nature, and it's the biggest sport in the country. So when news like this goes out, it definitely gets a lot of people's attention. And it's not only at presidential level. We've seen this happen at different levels within the Football Association of Zambia and those who are aspiring for various positions, from the provincial committees to different national positions such as vice president. We're talking about chairperson for the Zambia Premier League. So we've seen it get to happen at different levels. It's not just at presidential level, but we can understand why it's gotten so much attention at presidential level, because it's been for a while now a highly contested position that you can see that the number of people who have been vying for this position, seeking this election, and right now we've been told that their candidatures have been declared invalid, but they have a window period to make their appeal.
We had 9 presidential candidates in total. There was Andrew Kamanga, whose nominations were declared valid. There was Adrian Kashala, there was Keith Mwemba, there was Emmanuel Mnaile, there was Godfrey Chikumbi, who's going to be with us tonight. There was Mumbo Lombe, there was Alex Njovu, there was Francis Yahamkwiti, and there was Machacha Shipande, and all these 8 were declared. Their nominations were declared invalid, and Andrew Kamanga's nomination was declared valid, and is still our president, I guess so. I was looking at the number of comments on social media, and many of them were saying that nakufaz wachinja mingalato. Others suggesting that Andrew Kamanga dribbled the other candidates, but I think the chief election officer there was very clear on what makes what makes one's nomination valid and what makes one's nomination invalid, and he quoted pieces of legislation from the first constitution that clearly stipulates that you must meet all the standards from the integrity committee and other other standards that you have to meet. If you fall short of one, then you'd have fallen short of all of them. It's like the Bible. I was giving you an example of the Bible, Chimweka, the 10 Commandments. So you can't say, me, I follow 8 consistently and keenly, and I don't follow 2.
And the thing is, the electoral committee chairperson, Mr. Atongo, did narrow it down, because obviously after the briefing he had an interaction with the media, and they had asked what are some of the reasons. After stating what the qualifications are, he was asked what are the major reasons that have led to the 8 candidates being disqualified and their candidatures being invalid, and he narrowed down to 2 main ones, and one of the 2 is the aspect of leadership positions. It seems that a number of them fell short with the qualification that they needed to have at least 3 years recent experience within a FAS member position, and they seemingly fell short of that qualification. The other aspect that was also mentioned was the issue of the people who nominate them, because one of the qualifications is you need to be nominated by people who are in good standing with the Football Association of Zambia, and it seems that some of the nominees that these candidates got were not in good standing with the Football Association of Zambia.
What is good standing? I mean, what? And I'm thinking, what qualifies this integrity test? And I'm wondering, the 9 candidates had a lot of time to prepare their credentials, just to fail an integrity test, or to fail to find one that would nominate you that is in good standing with the Football Association of Zambia. They had so much time.
But they must not only be in good standing with the Football Association of Zambia, they must be members.
How possible is it that all of the 8 candidates cannot make the mark?
I think those questions must be answered by themselves, and that's the reason for why we have one of the candidates.
And also
speaking to that,
we would anticipate that most of them will appeal the decision, and they'll be able to prove before the courts that they indeed are qualified and the credentials they put up there are justified.
Of course, I was looking at the FAS constitution, and they ran to Article 32, Part 1. It does stipulate the rules of engagement. So it says the executive committee consists of 13 members, president, vice president, female member, 10 members representing each of the regional leagues. Part 2 goes to say the president, vice president, and the female member shall be elected by the council. The other 10 members of the executive committee shall be those elected from the respective regions. It goes on to say the term of office of the president, vice president, and members of the executive committee is 4 years. They may be re-elected for a further two terms of office, provided that a member contesting for any position other than the previously held shall be eligible to contest for that position, as it shall count as a new term of office in its own right. It goes on to say, for a person to be elected as an executive member of FAS, they shall be required to have at least 5 years experience in a leadership position of a member of FAS, all right, not that Chimweka, to have at least 5 years experience in a leadership position of a member of FAS, 3 years of which shall be within the 10 years immediately preceding the elections. Number two,
in this case, making reference to March 2022.
March 2022. Must not have served a term of imprisonment of at least 3 years in the 10 years immediately preceding the elections.
Which, by the way, the electoral committee didn't take time to check. They said they ran out of time.
Yes, ran out of time.
And they couldn't check whether or not any of them has been imprisoned within that time frame. So they had time to check for certain...
Yes.
And time to check for other
aspects of the criteria, but others, they said they didn't have enough time to check.
Yes, they depending on what was submitted already.
So you just have to say, I've never been arrested, and you submit that and
But obviously, this one, all of them ticked a box. Must be
because it was not checked.
Yes, it wasn't checked. But obviously, this one, all of them qualified. Must be Zambian citizens and ordinarily resident in Zambia.
Even with that, he also mentioned that they just relied on the fact that people presented their NRC.
So we don't know.
No further due diligence. I mean, they just said, okay, you've provided your NRC, we'll take it as such. Well, that's something we'll be talking about soon. But gentlemen, also from today, another big story, as we conclude today in a snap, the judiciary rescinding the decision to broadcast the witchcraft trial.
Yeah.
Quite the interesting story. And the judiciary, in this case, responding to the several calls that a number of stakeholders have made, that this is really an unnecessary trial.
I thought so. When I heard this, when I heard of this, I don't know whether I should say this on TV, but I asked Costa Mwansa that, did you apply for us to televise this? Well, I won't respond there. I won't say what he told me.
He didn't respond to the question?
He did respond to the question, but I prefer, having it to myself. I didn't see it as a necessary, court proceeding that the public is interested in, because remember that after we televised the eligibility of President Edgar Lungu, I think what the judiciary said was very clear that all matters of public interest, the judiciary will take it upon itself to be able to televise. I don't think this is a matter of public interest. The nature of it is so petty.
You don't think so?
I don't think so.
But it involves the Republican president.
Can you imagine that?
It's the Republican president involved.
It's a Republican president involved, but I don't think it's a serious matter, really.
Really?
I don't think it's a serious matter.
You're trying to harm the president with witchcraft?
I don't think that's possible. I don't think that's possible. Personally, I don't think that's possible.
You find
I don't think there's
could get that they're trying to harm you?
No, I don't think there are individuals with powers that could be able to...
with kids' gloves? We should take it as a country with kids' gloves that you're trying to harm the head of state.
I don't think... to be honest with you,
I think that
I don't think there are people that possess those powers to be able to harm the president.
I know that politicians are saying, just like Honorable Luwinda says, Zambia is a Christian nation and we don't want children to see what's happening in the courtroom.
I don't even want to quote politicians. I want to quote the Christian Council of Churches. They said, guys, let's be serious. We can't reduce ourselves to this. We can't. Let's be serious.
But if individuals are arrested, if this was a case that was not serious, the Zambia Police Service wouldn't have taken it as serious as the judiciary in the first case.
I think there's so many cases that the Zambian police have taken in that are not so serious.
So but the broader conversation here is also now on what the judiciary sets or decides the public should be able to see. Because now people will be looking at that. There will be cases where people will be like, okay, you know what, let's also take time to see this. The public should know. And that's why even with this decision, of course, it's good in the sense that it gives more transparency in a lot of these cases. It also helps people get to understand, both sides, the defense and those who are, on the other end as well, as far as prosecuting is concerned. So you get to hear both sides in these particular cases. And going forward, it will be interesting to see what the judiciary is going to do in terms of what gets to be televised and what doesn't. But that's around.
Do you think it is of public interest?
Well, the country we're living in also. The truth is that people...
Were you looking forward to watch this?
The truth of the matter is that people actually look forward to pettiest things.
Chimweka, were you looking forward to watch this?
Personally,
yes.
I was.
Okay.
But I wasn't. But the truth of the matter is that we have people who love... I mean, to be honest, people have been saying, you know what, we'd also want to see your maps and the wife and that case. People also want to watch something like that. But what I'm trying to get to is that when you talk about public interest, it's very relative.
It's very. I agree with you.
Public interest is very relative because just something, even just gossip, people would love to watch something like that and to get the interest of a certain section of the public.
That's true.
The same way, even just the eligibility case of former President Edgar Lungu, you also have certain sections of the public that were not interested in that. Mm-hmm. So when you say public interest, it's very subjective and relative because you can say you might find it as interesting, and you say
did you find Edgar Lungu's case interesting?
That was definitely of interest.
Did you find?
In fact, as somebody in the media, both cases actually of interest to me. Because as long as
you're now changing statements,
it's of interest to me.
You're not changing statements,
because of where I work and the type of my career. So even if I personally might not have interest in it, but because of the nature of my job, that's a different question.
I mean, it's really like I think I agree with Chimweka to a larger extent because what is of public interest indeed is relative. Personally, I will be in court tomorrow because I would love to see, for example, gentlemen, I would love to see the evidence in court. I would love to see witnesses.
It's today Friday or it's Monday?
No. Because when you accuse someone of witchcraft, how did you know?
And justification.
Those people are found in possession of chameleons and all those things.
So how do you know a chameleon is something that can be used as something that is of witchcraft?
Well, the Witchcraft Act prescribes all those things.
Well, and then I would love to see. I would love to see what's going to be presented in court. And so for me, it stands out as
evidence. It's going to be brought as evidence.
Of public interest.
Chameleons.
We are waiting to see the outcome.
So the judiciary should have actually televised this.
They should televise this.
Yeah, they should have televised the matter. They should have.
And there should be exhibits.
It is your opinion. It is your opinion. It is the judiciary's opinion. And there are people out there that still feel that they would want to know.
And the judiciary have responded in the interest of the public. The public says this is not sensible.
Well,
and that's why they've rescinded the decision.
Gentlemen, let's see how trial goes tomorrow.
Alrighty, so we're going to be speaking to the police spokesperson in Hamoonga. Obviously, this is on the backdrop of the fact that there were 4 criminals who were gunned down. We want to find out from him what circumstances led to them being gunned down. We take a break. When we're back, we speak to him. Thanks so much for still being part of the show tonight. You can be a part of it by calling us on the number that is on the screen, but also take advantage of our social media platform. We are live on our social media streams at Diamond TV online. Now, exactly 1 week ago, the Zambia police in Lusaka showed date 4 suspected dangerous criminals believed to be behind a series of thefts from motor vehicles and aggravated robberies right here in the capital city, Lusaka. In a statement, the Zambia police spokesperson Hamoonga said following interrogations, the suspects led officers to Kasupe area where they had hidden a firearm and other suspected stolen items, and the unrestrained suspects turned violent, forcing officers to respond, and all the 4 suspects were killed while attempting to escape. Mr. Hamoonga is joining us tonight to give us more details over these what others would call extrajudicial killings. Mr. Hamoonga, thank you so much for making time to be with us tonight on Diamond Live. Police spokesperson Hamoonga, thank you so much for making time to be with us tonight on Diamond Live.
Thank you very much, and good evening.
How long did you have information about these suspected criminals before you decided to take action?
Okay, thank you very much. We want to thank the member of the public that alerted us over concerning these particular criminals. What happened is on that particular day, actually they did attacks or steal from a member of the public that was at Crossroads, who reported the matter, and thereafter we alerted our patrol teams. We engaged both Flying Squad and our Scorpion team to move in and try and track these criminals.
Mm. Now, Mr. Hamoonga, in your statement that was released, you mentioned that these suspects took the police officers to a location, Kasupe area, where they had hidden a firearm and suddenly became violent, prompting the officers to eventually take action, and the suspects were gunned down. For some members of the public, they've really questioned this because it's not the first time that this is happening. But just run us through the process before you get to gun down suspects. Just run us through that for the sake of public clarity.
Sorry, could you just be close to the mic? I'm struggling to get you.
Are you able to hear me, Mr. Hamoonga?
You're saying, please repeat your question.
So just run us through the circumstances that lead to you as police officers gunning down suspects. We know that from this particular situation, from your statement, you did mention that they eventually turned violent after leading you to a place where they were hiding some suspected stolen items as well. So just run us through, for the sake of public clarity, what circumstances lead to you gunning down suspects.
Okay, thank you very much. What transpired is that these suspects were unrestrained, meaning they were leading us to go to an area where they had hidden the firearm. Okay, so when we were moving with them, we go to that area, and they were leading us to recover a hidden firearm, which they had hidden there in Kasupe area. And during the process of that, we were able to recover the pistol. What had remained was the magazine for the same pistol that they had hidden there. Now, in the process of us trying to recover the magazine, the criminals turned violent. Okay, they grabbed the firearm from one of our officers who had the rifle. Fortunately, the officer was swift enough to remove the magazine as the struggle for the firearm ensued. And thereafter, one of the same criminal that grabbed the firearm from the officer managed to fire the firearm, and that's how the commotion ensued. So it was a struggle between the officers and the criminals. Unfortunately, or fortunately enough, officers were able to neutralize them, and that's what transpired.
So besides the firearm, what else did you recover from them? Because there's been a number of allegations that have been leveled against the police that there's also some money amounting to over 500,000 kwacha that you recovered as police, but you've not declared. Are you able to give us details of some of the things that you recovered besides the firearm?
Okay, what was recovered, by the way, before I even go to recovery, these criminals actually, remember when we apprehended them, we were able to identify them that these are the criminals that were behind another great robbery that occurred on the 10th of October in 2024, where a Chinese national had his money stolen. You remember that video which went viral where it was showing a Chinese national being pulled, struggling with a bag with a fast-moving vehicle?
Yeah.
And then, unfortunately, even that person actually died. Mm-hmm. Yeah. These are the criminals that actually were behind this same incident. So we're actually looking for them for the other crimes that they were committed. This is just one of them, and the other various crimes that they were involved in. Now, we as police, of course, people should understand that we always operate within the confines of the law, and we're not going to do anything beyond that. But we always, most of the time, or all the time, confine operations within the confines of the law.
But I don't think the question has been answered, Mr. Hamoonga. Besides the firearm, what else did you recover from these suspected criminals?
Sorry, come again?
Besides the firearm that you got from them, what else did you recover from them?
Okay, thank you. The other thing that we recovered, actually, we recovered the same, that particular day. Remember we said that they had stolen a laptop from Crossroads?
Mm-hmm.
And that actual laptop was recovered, and even the person that they had stolen from his vehicle was actually was able to identify it. And that's the thing actually which really led us to apprehend them, because maybe they did that, they did speed off, and then they got the number plate from the vehicle, and which was actually passed on to us for us to be able to track them. So apart from that, we recovered the laptop that was stolen on that particular day, as well as the number plates that they were using. You remember that they had the number plate which was put on the vehicle, BAJ 6185, somewhere there. I'm not able to give it correctly from my head. But the number plate which they were using on that particular vehicle was the fake number plate, which they were just using, and they just stuck it on the vehicle for them to conduct their clandestine activities. But fortunately, like I've said, when they stole somebody, quickly alerted the police and alerted us, and we followed them and were able to corner them.
So you didn't...
And other things that were found on them, there were some bags, tea bags, tea, those things that they use for opening motor vehicles, and phones which they had on them.
So just a clarification.
Just mention about a few.
Just a clarification. Was there money that you collected from these criminals?
Sorry?
Was there money that you collected from these criminals?
Money collected from where?
Did you recover some monies from these criminals amounting to over 500,000 kwacha?
No, we didn't have that.
And before we let you go, Mr. Hamoonga, because the issue now also that people have noticed is the gunning down, and some stakeholders are concerned that this has been happening quite frequently. Are there any other ways of apprehending some of these suspected criminals, even if they're not exactly being compliant? Are there any other ways that would not exactly result to them being gunned down?
You see, whatever, like I said earlier on, whatever we do as police, we do everything that is within the confines of the law. For instance, it's not that we were just born to be police officers. We were born just like another citizen like you and I, who have chosen, us who have just chosen to be police officers. Now, in our operations as police officers, there is guidance that has been provided. Okay? For instance, if somebody is escaping from lawful custody, the law provides that you can use a firearm to stop such a person. But of course, that's not mean that you just shoot that person upright. It's allowed for us to use the firearm to stop such a person from escaping from lawful custody. But even where a person is charging towards the police officer, for instance, someone grabs the firearm and then is firing at police officers. Police officers are prompted to respond.
Would it be wrong for us to call this action that you made extrajudicial killings?
Sorry?
Would it be wrong for us to call what you did, Mr. Hamoonga, as extrajudicial killings?
No, not at all. You see, that's why I was saying that we operate within the confines of the law. What happens in such cases is what will happen after this. Certain cases like this, they end up in what is called an inquest. Okay, an inquiry. Mind you, whenever any person dies, the state is the complainant. So in that particular case, it will be taken for we hold an inquest, and then people will be allowed to testify. If you have evidence saying that the evidence, the action outside the law, will be given an opportunity to go and testify. And also officers will also provide the necessary details relating to the circumstances surrounding that incident.
All right, thank you so much, Police Spokesperson Ray Hamoonga, for making time to be with us and clarifying on the shooting that happened last week.
Thank you.
All right, now Andrew Kamanga has duly been elected FAS president for the period 2025 to 2029 after 8 other contestants' submissions were invalid. The FAS Electoral Committee Chairperson Ronald Hantongo, in a press briefing, did confirm that only Kamanga's nominations was eligible with the other 8 not meeting the requirements as guided by the FAS statute. Some key constitutional requirements for the success of a candidate to be eligible include an integrity test and 3 years experience in a leadership position of a member of FAS, as outlined in Article 35, Part B of the FAS Constitution. One of those that was aspiring to be president of FAS is Godfrey Chikumbi. He gets to join us on tonight's edition of Diamond Live. Comrade Chikumbi, good evening. Thank you so much for making time to join us on Diamond Live. I don't know if I should say good evening because it doesn't seem like a very good evening to you.
Indeed, it doesn't seem to be a good evening to me and my fellow contestants. Following the announcement by the Electoral Committee of the Football Association of Zambia to nullify our nomination.
Were you shocked that this came?
No, I wasn't shocked because I know the type of leadership that is at FAS. We expected anything, especially that prior to this announcement, the FAS president himself is on record having told the country that he doesn't have any case that he's facing with the Drug Enforcement Commission, when in the actual sense, the Drug Enforcement Commission confirms that there's a case there that ultimately disqualifies him from the race. So when you see at face the president himself lies before journalists, expect the worst.
How does the case that he has at the Drug Enforcement Commission disqualify him?
So as candidates, we are guided by 2 important documents. Number 1, the Constitution that I'm with. It is the Bible. And to be precise, Articles 26 and 33 are very, very clear on what should be made before one participates in the electoral process of the Football Association of Zambia. The second document is the Electoral Code. Now, you asked me, how does having a case with DEC disqualify one from contesting? So there are 2 annexes at the end of the Electoral Code. So annex number 1 is the integrity test. So the integrity test questionnaire is very clear. If you read question 3 of the integrity questionnaire, it's very clear. Are you the subject of any pending civil, criminal, disciplinary proceedings or investigations? If your answer is no, you pass this question. You've answered correctly. If your answer is yes, you need to provide an explanation. So I'm made to wonder what Mr. Andrew Kamanga wrote here.
Getting to now you, because according to the Electoral Committee chairperson and what was said, they mentioned that they sat just recently and got to realize that you are among the 8 that whose candidature is invalid. Well, first of all, what's your reaction to this development?
It's laughable because, first of all, like I said, it hasn't come as a surprise. First of all, I have to react with annoyance. And I'm disturbed as I speak to you because I don't know how long it will take for Mr. Kamanga to learn to respect the Constitution. I say so because I cannot participate in a process whose rules I don't understand. For the past 3 or so years, I've campaigned to become first president of this country, knowing exactly what is required of me. And that is why I take this seriously. But look, the challenge we are having at the moment is the fact that the leadership at FAS has no respect for the Constitution. Because it might interest you to know that this same Constitution has been tinkered with 3 times. In 2017, it was amended. It was first amended in 2017. They said it needed to align with FIFA, the FIFA statutes. We agree. It actually cut down on the Electoral College because the Electoral College that ushered in Mr. Andrew Kamanga in 2016 was over. It was a bloated one. Over 500 people were voting. And Kalusha Bwalia maintained those people because to him, it was that feeling of belonging that made people happy. We cannot cut them off completely. There was an insistence to cut people off by cutting down on the Electoral College. He maintained. Andrew benefited from it, and Kalu lost by 7 votes. In 2021, the constitution was amended again. Some clauses, questionable ones. And you know, it's very unfortunate that, and I don't want to look down on honorable members of the Football Association of Zambia. When a constitution is being amended, let us take time to read through the proposals. Because the proposals are generated by the Football Association of Zambia. Somebody sits under a tree, generates proposals and circulates them to the general membership. In 2020, this is the fourth amendment, September 2024. Now, it demonstrates instability. This is not a stable constitution.
But one of the part of the criteria that was cited, that has been said that most of the 8, you being one of them, abrogated or did not successfully, tick, is number one, the issues of the people who nominate you. Are they in good standing with the Football Association of Zambia? Number 2 was on the issue of leadership positions and how long you've been in leadership positions. So these 2 have come up as the main issues out of the whole criteria. So have you gone back to double check and make sure that you are in line, especially with these 2 parts of the criteria?
Okay, Chimweka, one thing I'll tell you is that the Football Association of Zambia has judicial bodies that are provided for in this constitution. So in the first place, I need to give you a very quick background. So they announced that all candidates must file in using the FAS online platforms. Unconstitutional. It's not part of the electoral code. All nomination filing must be done physically. I accepted because I never wanted to fight. But then I realized later, some people said, no. Let's check these guys. They are flouting the constitution or the electoral code by telling people to file online. Andrew Kamanga, the president, is on record, covered widely by both the mainstream and social media, where he's saying there's nothing wrong for us to file in using the FAS online because the world has changed, the world has evolved. Now, coming to your question, well, you know what I can't understand is Emmanuel Munaile. Take for example Emmanuel Munaile, who was a candidate and challenged Andrew Kamanga in 2020. Today does not qualify. Gideon Mwenya, who was a challenger to Justin Mumba at vice presidential level, today does not qualify. I can cite other examples of people that have not qualified. Now, they are saying because some people were nominated by, first of all, I've stated this. Keith Mwemba, I'm citing Keith Mwemba, is a renowned lawyer in this country. Are you telling me Keith can fail to interpret this simple constitution? It doesn't have to take rocket science. That this annex, the nomination form for FAS, for FAS nominations for candidates, is very clear. It states that you need to be nominated by somebody who is either president at club level or general secretary. Personally, where I come from, I am vice president of Mwansa Wanderers Football Club. I was nominated by my president. Then I was nominated by another president. And these are in good standing with, I just cited examples. Gentlemen, sometimes we need to sit down. Are you telling me all of us, Tulifikopo, we can go into an election knowing this person who is nominating me is not in good standing with FAS? And for me, I am sure, because I mentioned the judicial bodies of FAS. So immediately after filing in on Saturday, on Saturday, because I was the first one to file in on Monday. On Friday was the last of the days which were allocated for filing. Andrew filed on Friday. On Saturday morning, I was home. I received a phone call to invite me to an interview by the Governance and Review Committee, which is one of the judicial bodies headed by Brian Sidi. And according to our constitution, somebody to head any judicial body must be a lawyer. So he calls me and asks me this question. Mr. Godfrey Chikombi, this is a strange number. He asks if my current employment status will not conflict with what I'm seeking to become. In case I succeed at it, I become first president, won't it conflict with my current, since I'm a government journalist, you know? And am I required to resign? Then I explain to say, look, the role of the first president is not full-time. You're not salaried. You go to football houses and when you are needed there. You can ask Mr. Andrew Kamanga himself. He doesn't report at first because this is not an appointive position. It's an elective position. So I explain, okay, Mr. Godfrey, you've shared your thoughts on this. Now, any other thing that you feel can add value to this interview. Then I say, my first registration into FAS was between 2011 and 2014. That time, we didn't have these online registrations that are happening now. But thankfully, I kept one of the cards, which was signed by Mr. Julio Chiruba. He was head of administration then and acting as general secretary. That was part of what I had filed in. I volunteered that information and tell you what Mr. Brian Msidi told me himself, that Mr. Godfrey Chikumbi, we have nothing against you on registrations. In fact, you have no issues with registration. The only question that you needed to clarify is the one we asked you. At that point, I'm aware I have passed. And I'm celebrating because the governance and review committee will tell you, some people, fellow candidates told me to say they were called to say there are certain things that they needed clarifications on. Personally, the governance and review committee told me that they had no issues with me. At what point did their recommendations fail with the ethics committee? Because
So what happens if you fail to pass these tests? Do they get back to you as individuals to check where you could have possibly missed it?
Yes, they will write.
The right to you.
Yes. There's a letter, I think it's circulated at some point, that they wrote to Kalusha when they claimed they failed the integrity test. And one of the things that under Article 33, Clause 7, they said he's not a resident of Zambia. That is one clause that sneaked into this election, into this constitution to try and block Kalusha in 2020. And I've been complaining about it. Say, a first president can be anybody, a Zambian living even in the diaspora, because it's not a full-time job unless you are general secretary. But they will explain where you failed. They even stated Kalu had a case in the High Court. This is a personal matter between him and his friend. It was brought, which is one of the reasons why I personally wrote the Drug Enforcement Commission. So, no, even Mr. Andrew Kamanga has a pending case. Based on those things they stated in the letter, Kalusha failed.
Are you going to appeal this decision?
I'm not appealing. I will not file my petition with a rubber stamp organization that Andrew is controlling. If Andrew does not qualify, he changes and disqualifies those that qualify. Where is the fairness?
But in my thinking, you are accusing Andrew Kamanga. How does Andrew Kamanga control the presidency and control the general committee that is independent, asking you the questions? How does that work?
Cheswa, that sounds funny because look, Andrew is mandated to appoint these people via the executive committee. By the way, nobody sits on any committee without the approval of Andrew Kamanga. So all of those are appointed by Andrew Kamanga. Let me tell you one thing.
The interpretation that he uses, all of them?
Look, honestly speaking, how can you disqualify? Guys, let's be, sometimes we need to have that sense of shame.
And maybe that's why some board asked that. Are you saying that he's so radical that he would literally disqualify every single person who's contesting?
He desperately needs this. It desperately needs this.
Not even leaving one or two, but disqualifying each and every single one.
Do you know what?
A position that is not salaried?
No. Bro, this has helped Andrew in so many ways. I don't want to talk about anyway. Let me tell you one thing. Andrew talks to these people. They are his people. He controls them. And I'm not saying this because I want to be malicious. That's just the truth.
And the fact that he's not here to defend himself.
Yeah, you call him, he will defend himself. Let me tell you one thing. So, Andrew knows if Godfrey is the one who qualifies to stand. He loses elections because the tide is against him. As we speak, people are frustrated. For any information, clubs in the lower league today play without money. For 12 months, you have a competition that runs without money. Mahala. Ichimpombwa. As we speak, the National Division 1, which is a league ranking next to the Premier League, does not have the money. As we speak, the Zambia national team has no official kit sponsors. Somebody uses FIFA money to procure jerseys and things that you don't know. No wonder our players sweat like they are coming from a swimming pool. As we speak, the league, let me tell you, the league, the way it is not corporatized. Monies are delayed to be paid to the winners of the league. They lie to you to say they delinked the league. They never delinked the league. Because as we speak, they are deciding who becomes chairman of the league.
So now, for me, for people that believed in your leadership, and you stating here tonight that you're not going to appeal this decision by FAS, and you denying the people that believe you?
Let me announce to you officially, I'm going to court. I never wanted to go to court, but what has happened, if they allowed Keith, I would have rallied behind Keith. If they allowed Kashala, I would have rallied behind him. They allowed Alex, Mumbolombe, or any other candidate, I would have rallied behind that person. But now that he wants to go it alone, I'm going to court. I'm going to block his access to Football House. I'm going to block the election. I'm going to stop the election. And if let them be lucky, I'll seek an injunction to just stop all football activities. Because now, let me tell you, if you play with football, you play with, look, I rank football as among the 3 Fs. This is how they rank. This is food, fuel, football. Don't play with football.
So if you say you want to rally behind another candidate, it seems to many people that you are sort of just trying to remove
Andrew must go.
One individual.
Andrew must fall.
It seems you running for presidency is not in the best interest of the Football Association.
No,
you're trying to remove an individual from
We are
from
a
office.
divided lot. Our football environment is toxic. It's highly polarized as we speak. It's us versus them. Becoming first president or being in football is one of the 1,000 ways to die now. Let me tell you, our football has been reduced to having a membership of cliques and criminal gangs. That is how our football has been reduced. You can't explain it that this time around you have a coach stopping a player from participating in the national team because he has told you he can't belong to your agent. Fashion Sakala. That is a case in point.
But of course, I mean that one. There were a lot of calls for him to prove his allegations, and we know that the coach denied those allegations. So, I mean, that's another discussion for another day. But I believe we've got a caller.
We've got a caller, first caller, Jeremy. Good evening. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Good evening.
Go ahead with your question or contribution tonight.
Hello.
Go ahead.
Yes. Good evening. I think my 2 cents on what Mr. Chikumbi is simply saying is he is too fast to react, even at the point when FAS has not written to him to cite possibly where he went wrong. Because how is he castigating everyone at FAS together with the electoral body that was responsible to announce his results when they haven't even written to him to state why or where he went wrong?
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Kanyama, for giving us your contribution. And that's another point. We discussed some of the part of the criteria. You say you know the criteria very well. I would like to believe you've not yet received any official written
I'm not receiving it
from FAS as to where you went wrong. But wouldn't you want to find out?
No. Why should I find out from somebody?
So that you can double check where the issue is?
Chimweka, it's coming from a person who doesn't qualify. Insofar as I'm concerned,
but no, it's coming from the electoral committee.
Somebody is partying. So let me tell you, as we sit here right now, I'll share with you loads and loads of voice notes that are coming from Mr. Smata, a close ally of Mr. Andrew Kamanga. He's telling people already about who failed. He's in groups, he's all over. I'll share these voice notes. They're all over. And I didn't believe when they were saying somebody was in the in the governance and review committee parrying instructions to those people. So why am I going to receive something that is predetermined? These people were so determined to block everybody, to leave Andrew alone. What have they said about Andrew having a case at Deki? Why did they block Kalusha? For your information, when Kalusha was blocked, FIFA had cleared him and CAF reinstated him to his earlier position of CAF Executive Committee member. Here they said you can't qualify because you have a case. Not at first. Why has Andrew proceeded to be elected? I don't recognize Andrew as first president, and you will not operate in Zambia as first president. I'm telling you, we are going to fight to the bitter end, and tomorrow we have a press briefing. And for me, personally, if people want to follow, they don't, we're going to court to stop this. This mess has to be stopped. If it means FIFA cracking the whip, for me, if that is the best, I mean, Ghana has been through this. Ghana has been through this. We can have a normalization committee. You know, the beauty about FIFA is not this monster that people think about. They will investigate. They will know who is at fault. At some point, for your information, in November 2010, Mr. Andrew Kamanga paralyzed the entire football setup in Zambia. He formed a parallel structure. I am not lying. This is in black and white. He was president of the National Football League. The government of the Republic of Zambia then facilitated for his travel to Zurich and they start on the same plane. Now, today, you have the same situation arising. And somebody wants to say, why should Mr. Chikumbi react? You want me to be laughing when somebody who doesn't qualify is blocking me? You want me to be laughing? I will not. And I'm bitter right now as I speak. I'll fight to the bitter end until Andrew is stopped. There will be no elections.
Kennedy Mlenga calling us from within Lusaka. Kennedy Mlenga, good evening. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good evening. I just want to add my voice on this issue.
I'm good.
Sorry.
I think we should just proceed even if FIFA bans us. I think there's no problem. I think I saw this problem when they were trying to amend the constitution. I think the problem is that Zambian people, we don't pay attention to clauses when someone is trying to amend the constitution. Everyone was like, no, FIFA will block us. If we did to amend the constitution, FIFA will block us. That was a lie. That was wrong. So I think this time around, let us just go on and on. If it doesn't, even if FIFA broke us, it's okay. Let us go there so that we normalize things. FIFA should block us. We are okay. We are happy. We can't be watching a Zambian league with that camera which they put in those cameras. Me, I'm even failing to watch football. That camera is very bad. So it can even destroy your eyes. So you must go. It's not right.
Thank you, Mr. Mlenga.
Thank you.
So, I mean, what we're very quick to do also is highlight Mr. Andrew Kamanga's weaknesses and faults, which others can argue and say, I mean, these are suggestions that could be brought forward to him and issues that can be looked at. But others would also look at some of the gains in Zambian football under his watch.
Which watch?
For example, if you look at the development and progress in as far as women's football is concerned, that has been highly attributed to him, unless you argue otherwise.
You know, guys, let's pay attention to the progression of women's football. The reason why people never paid attention to women's football when Kalusha was doing so much to develop women's football is because men's football was doing fine. Let me tell you one thing, and I'll demonstrate it. In 2017, the same Barbara Banda I talk about was taken to the World Cup. Rachel Kundananji was at the World Cup. Margaret Belemu, Irene Lungu, Heze Onali, you can mention them. Those that form the Copa Queens today, they were at the 2017 one in 2014. Now, the reason why women football under his watch, as you are putting it, is seemingly flourishing is because he never chased them away the way he chased the men. There was a sudden removal of the senior men's national team members, especially those that won the AFCON. And now we went down completely, which is why we failed to qualify to the 2017 AFCON, 2021 AFCON, 2021 AFCON. We never qualified. 3 AFCONs, we never qualified because of that. Now, because for some reason he maintained these, I don't know. If we had also maintained those, we would have flourished like the women of... Now, you cannot attribute women's football to Mr. Andrew Kamanga. is not the first person. There was a lot of investment that went into it. Our women, unfortunately, many of us never paid attention. And there's one woman that I salute, the wife to the former Republican Vice President, Dr. Charlotte Scott. She paid attention to it. Those women were camped in the United States, the girls. And Dr. Charlotte Scott...
Isn't that how governance works generally? Because even if you look at it at national level, presidential level, if we talk about Republican presidential level, you get to see that successive governments complement each other. And either way, success can be attributed to either. For example, if you talk about under the previous regime, infrastructure has been attributed to them. Today, if we look at the recruitment processes, it's been attributed to. So isn't it complemented in one way or the other still? And that maybe comes back to what you're saying, that yes, there were women who are thriving in as far as football is concerned, but the light has come on now under his watch.
Just as we answer that, we have a caller, Gift. Hello, Gift. Good evening. Thank you so much for joining us. Gift, good evening.
Hello.
Good evening to you.
Hello.
Hello, we can hear you. Go ahead, Mr. Gift Malumo. Go ahead with your contribution tonight.
Boss.
Bwino wasenza bonjwa, boss.
Wena mlishani?
So, my contribution yanga ni yakuthi Kamanga nani kila na asevenga ni kubali na kubali ni bola mzambia
mafusa bwanji question Malomo.
Nikamba na Kamanga yo chanka dije ni baleta yabo bati lezi abaenda na Unopposed. Au kama wewe so ndiye bali qualified pale bantu wote bali na ndiye bali na nani kanya uti wangala ninge bola mno mzambia.
Ndivyo wakamba ba
manje ndikamba vakuti ngati isibeta ngati kubaninga mabani chebola mno mzambia kozi yeve sanga tibwanji kozi bintu bebikika mu Zambian football ibintu bakabati kwambe isibeta ngati bevi bakanga basiyabo benango bayina nani kana balingako football nani kana
ndakukamba Gift Malumo. So Mr. Chikumbi, you're saying that you would want to go to extents where for you don't care even if FIFA suspends.
Does Andrew care?
Financial support.
Does Andrew care
for football?
And are you saying his leadership is so bad that you'd rather FIFA suspends?
It's very bad.
The whole country should be a victim of that.
Look, Zimbabwe did it. When people at FIFA misbehaved, Zimbabwe did it. For information, Mr. Andrew Kamanga is bad. So bad that FIFA at the moment has been cutting funding because he removed unceremoniously, without due regard, that guy he recruited. We didn't ask him to recruit the guy from Croatia. What's his name again? The matter was taken. Do you know that we are paying through the nose? You understand? The leadership is so bad that there is disunity in the game as we speak. Look, this is the first time in the history of Zambian football we have seen this. In the past, the role of the first president has been insignificant. The player who is the central figure in the game of football has been more known than Football House. But because somebody wants to post him as the alpha and omega of Zambian football, we are here. And those who love football must join this crusade to rescue our game. Well, let me tell you, what is there to celebrate? In the first place, are you aware that our league can't even be among the top 20 in Africa? Are you not ashamed that Zambia, which used to be called one of the football powerhouses, is no longer, our league is no longer among the top 20? Because he rushed into enactment a law that collapsed leagues. Instead of promoting capitalist ideas of ownership of clubs, today as we speak, Chimweka, you must be ashamed that the government of the Republic of Zambia owns over 9 of the clubs that we have. Zesco United, I can count them. Green Buffaloes, Red Arrows, Forest Rangers, Cabo Warriors, you can count them. Today, if government says social sector spending because we need to save, must collapse, what happens to the league? It collapses. So what? Now I want to say this: they rushed into enactment of a law that collapsed clubs. Where is Bidcon today? Because they said you cannot buy more than 5 players. We said you can't do that. If I've got a man and I've invested, why are you stopping me from buying players? That law has become. That one has been outlawed in Europe. They copied it and implemented it. It has harmed the league as we speak. These are people with little or no understanding on how football must be run. Our football today is insolvent as we speak. We are cash strapped. That is the reason why we can't even give grants to the lower league teams.
Let's pick a caller from Chola Bowa. Thank you so much, Mr. Bowa, for joining us.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening to you too, sir.
Thank you. A panel and Mr. Chikumbi.
Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Chikumbi.
Good evening, sir. Thank you.
Boss ba Chikumbi, bwesheni mu mutima mula pepa. Ife mulela ndokwe bati mukalwisha nangu bakachite bani bazambi okula chita participate kwena mu football. Wesheni mu mutima. Just sort out your issues wino. Bantu ife mulela ndokwe bati mukalwisha imwe bakati bani ngete mulandu. Nimwobo mulelanda. Bachikumbi ama players nimwobo mukalaba lisha. Nga batu banning. Aba ichi ama players ba youth tukwete bonsa batabakulate ya bola yo. So fimo fintu muletara mwa kutumana. Mwalanshanya mwebene mwasorting ama issues yenu na bafazi benu aba. Don't take that step at yo kano fibaka banning ete mulandu. Tebu fyashi muli ba fyashi imwe. You should consider a lot of issues surrounding football. Tekweba tinika manga fyoka chula awe. Ni shibonse fotu achulilamo. Na fwe batola tuma bola fwe batola mabola bakatolera tatwakola tola mabola. Naba shitisha ama ticket kuma stadium nabe na stadium na shonse fye. Chimuno muntu ule chitawisha ati tukaye kunkondo fe abanensu balero kunkondo ati yo mukwaina fe tukeshe kwenkondo. Utawatala ropo nenkondo yo. If you feel kulanda ati kubanning a football kwena mweyesha no kulanda kwe sort out your issues na bafazi. Chaku banning kwena mweyana ku extent yakwe batemlandu mkwai. Nishitamuli bafyashi. Sit down with bafazi. Ero nishi first Bachikumbi ndipusheko. Ili yonse mwikala fe zibo onse mwemanani.
All right, we have to conclude, but as he's concluding, I just wanted to pick one comment from Facebook from Litemba, who says, Lelo, you blame Kamanga for the fall of the 2012 AFCON team, yet we were booted out in the first round of the 2013 AFCON and failed to qualify in 2015 with the same team.
That guy is a liar, big liar. 2015 we qualified. In fact, at no point under the leadership of Kalusha Bwala did we fail to qualify. He was elected in 2008. We qualified to the 2008 AFCON under Patrick Phiri. In 2010, we qualified and reached the quarterfinals in Angola. In 2012, we won it. Look, the holding of the AFCON was changed to odd years in 2012. Same year, Zambia couldn't even go to the Confeds. They didn't even rest. Those boys were fatigued. They went into South Africa in 2013. We were booted out in the first round as he's putting, never lost a game. In 2015, we qualified again. I can give him an example. So in 2010, Spain won the World Cup in South Africa. Did they qualify to the 2014 World Cup? That guy must stop.
When you go to coach, you don't care about the community, you don't care about the children.
I care, but does Andrew care? Does Andrew care? Does Andrew care? Do you know why people have been resisting that? It's because we care. So those who are saying we don't care must go and talk.
But Mr. Kamanga is not calling on FIFA to make restrictions and to bars from anything. You're the ones who are calling for that. It's not him. So when people ask, do you care? They're talking about it from that perspective. He's not the one who's making those calls.
So it's better for him to block everybody. He must be alone. He needs to go alone in an election. He competes against himself. This is a person who doesn't qualify, whose nomination is invalid.
So you'd rather settle that score by calling for FIFA to make bans on us?
It's not. I'm not calling for a ban. All I'm saying is we are stopping the nonsense that is going on in football today. Because this is not ZA.
So did you have to wait for an election to stop this you call nonsense?
No. Let me tell you one thing. It's not about waiting, but they calculated this. In 2020, you had to ensure that the strongest candidate was blocked. But you will not have it this time around. I'm Godfrey Chikumbi. You will not have it.
So tomorrow you're saying you're going to court? You're calling for...
It's not tomorrow. I'm just going to court.
You have up to, is it Friday? But when you say you're going to court, you're not exactly appealing. So what exactly, maybe let's get this straight. What are you exactly doing when you go to court?
First of all, we are stopping the elections. I'm stopping the election, personally.
How are you stopping?
I'll seek an injunction.
Okay.
I'm going to take out an injunction to stop him from accessing Football House, to stop the election.
Do you think your grounds will be substantive enough?
Yes, until our issues are determined. First of all, we also need to go back to deck. Why somebody must be allowed? Because let me tell you, it's not me, Comrade Chimweka. The annex is here. I'm not the one. I have got every form that I filled in. This is the first nomination form. This is the annex that I've talked about.
Let's look at the first nomination form.
The first nomination form is here.
And while I'm just taking a look at that, what would your call be to the government, the Minister of Sports, obviously Nkandu, of course the President,
the patron
is a patron. What would your call be to the government?
Let them just watch us, because to them they say anything, it's interference. But to the let's fight on.
So you don't want the government to come in any way?
It will be interference. Again, they'll run to FIFA. As we speak, there's even a letter.
The president is on record. President Akan Lechtama is on record that, in fact, the time that Mavuto took these issues to court, restraining Andrew Kamanga, the president said that let these issues be sorted out of court. He advised you, the football enthusiasts, to sort out your issues outside court.
We salute our patron. He went out of his way to bring warring factions, warring parties together. He said it not once. He's against this. But now, if amongst those people you want to unite, some are stubborn, they don't want to listen, what do you do? Because if the judicial bodies within the confines of us are not giving us the justice we need, we seek that justice in the mainstream courts. We seek that justice in the traditional courts. That has happened before. Because Mr. Andrew Kamanga cannot be uprooted using the normal channels. Because even the law that he himself created, he can't respect it. What do? The courts are there to help us to have justice.
In conclusion, your concluding remarks.
My concluding remarks to our supporters, my supporters personally, the councillors, the 86 and the 130 delegates, is that ignore the declaration of Mr. Andrew Kamanga as a sole candidate or as a winner in this election. That's a joke. Ignore it. If you are in Mwansa, in Mongu, in Chipata, in Lusaka, I'm speaking to you as a leader that ignore the declaration by Mr. Ronald Hatongo. That is a farce. It should not stand and it will not stand. In fact, as we speak, we are going to take action. And I've already stated, I stated and I was against going to court. You know what I said? I said, if any of us is allowed to stand, none should go to court. We must rally behind that person. So now, since he hasn't allowed any one of us, what do? We are going to court.
Do you think any of the, if anyone decides to appeal, which has got a high likelihood, if anyone decides to appeal, do you think it will be successful?
It won't. He's scared of elections because if he doesn't want to have anyone in sight. If Munaile wins the appeal, Keith wins that appeal, Kashala wins that appeal, Andrew is done. So the best he can do is not allow anyone to be on the ballot.
2025 Football Association of Zambia aspiring presidential candidate. Thank you so much. Now no longer candidate because you've been technically knocked out. But thank you so much for making time to speak to the Zambians tonight across the country and also giving your views of what happened today.
Thank you so much.
All right, there you have it. Early on, we did have Zambia Police spokesperson Hamoonga was speaking about the gunning down of 4 criminals that happened in Kasupe. But now we're also speaking all issues football with Football Association of Zambia aspiring presidential candidate for 2025, Mr. Godfrey Chikumbi. Thank you so much for being a part of tonight's edition of Diamond Live. Those that called and those that commented on our comment section for our live stream at Diamond TV Zambia. Good night and God bless.